my name's Melanie Newman and welcome to our grooming channel. This is Miley the toy poodle, and in today's grooming session I'm going to share with you how I trim a mushroom style head, so stay tuned. The equipment I'm using in today's grooming session is I have my fine tooth comb. So this comb's really great for separating the hair and making sure we get right down to the base of her coat. I have used my flexi slicker to brush through her coat, and this just makes sure there's no knots or tangles in that head area. The scissors I'm going to be using in today's grooming session are Groom Tech Serpentini. These are a 7.5 straight scissor. P&W Blacksmith 7.5, these are a curved scissor. P&W Spartan 16 tooth 7.5 blender. P&W Spartan 7.5 28 tooth blender. Artero 7-inch thinner. Melanie Newman Relax Coat Conditioning Spray. I'm going to begin by removing the hair in the inner corner of Miley's eyes. And then using my straights, I'm just going to come in and just cut the hair in her stop area. Combing her fringe forward. Using my curves on a 45-degree angle, I'm heading the end of my scissor blade towards the outer corner of her eye, and I'm going to go about 1 centimetre past the outer corner of her eye. And comb it back down just to cross check. And her other side. So I'm just opening up that eye area and combing out everything that we've just scissored. I'm going to be scissoring a donut muzzle on Miley. So I'm going to come in and again going to pass the corner of her eye with my straights. So I've scissored about 1 centimetre past the outer corner of the eye, and then this line is going to follow down underneath her jawline. So I've got that nice line coming up towards the outer corner of her eye. Combing out that lip area. And then with my straights, I'm going to come along her lip line and scissor a nice line into that muzzle. And her other side. I'm going to keep scissoring that lower jaw so it's nice and tight and nice and short. And then just combing everything up and coming in behind her muzzle, so in front of her eyes, And just scissoring straight up on that angle. And her other side. So popping my scissors on a slight angle and coming up at the back of that muzzle in front of her eyes. Scissoring off the top of her muzzle. And just tidying up on the top of her muzzle. Once I've got my basic shape, I'm then going to scissor a little bit more off our lower jaw. So once I've got my shape, I'm just going to use my thinners and going with the direction of the coat growth to smooth out all my scissor work, and this will make it look nice and plush. I'm not actually changing the shape of her muzzle, I'm just coming in with my thinners to get it looking nice and smooth. I'm going to pull out all those little hairs around her little nose, and using my thinners, I'm just going to blend that area into the rest of her muzzle. So I just keep combing everything up and out with my fine tooth comb, and then just keep tipping off any little bits of hair sticking out to get that nice smooth finish. Okay, so I've finished her little muzzle. I'll probably go back over her muzzle when I'm doing my final touches for her head. If you can see, we've got all this hair that is in front of her ear. So I like to keep this hair here because it actually lets her ear hair rest on something. It gives us that fullness as we're scissoring that mushroom style ear as we're coming around to the top of the skull. If your dog doesn't have a lot of hair in front of the ear, you can just slightly come up towards the ear canal and the ear will still have something to sit on. So I'm going to comb down the hair that is in front of the ear, so the hair that's on that cheek area. I'm going to comb that down and comb the hair that is on her ear leather. I'm going to comb that down, and I'm just going to feel where her ear leather is. Her ear leather finishes here, so what I'm going to do is use my curves and just cut straight across about 1 centimetre below her ear leather. So this is my marker that lets me know where her ear leather is and that I can't scissor any shorter than that. So coming straight across, I'm scissoring all the hair that is on that cheek area, so the hair that is in front of that ear. And then this is a beginning of our mushroom style head. And I like to push her ears forward as I'm trimming the front of her head. And then her other side, so feeling down her ear, and then her ear leather is here. So I'm going to scissor about 1 centimetre past her ear leather. And scissor that cheek area. I'm going to comb everything to one side. And then using my curves, I'm going to scissor this nice and round into my ear. So any little bits of hair that's sticking over the side of that head, I'm going to scissor off. And then comb everything over the other side. And do the same thing, so just scissoring into that earpiece. I'm going to push her ears forward from behind and then start to scissor her ears into that cheek area. And I'm using my 28 tooth blender and making sure my sides are really even. As I'm scissoring, I'm always using my fine tooth comb to brush through her coat, making sure my work is even and my scissor work's nice and smooth. I'm just using my blenders to round up to the top of her skull. So I'm coming from her ear and then rounding up towards the top of her head. Once I've got her basic shape from her cheek hair into her ear hair, now I'm going to scissor up towards the top of her skull. So I'm going to comb everything to one side again and then just come across and scissor all the tips off. Down towards where I've blended her ear into her skull. I'm just going to take that a little bit shorter. And as I come around the top of that ear, I'm then going to scissor the top of her skull. And comb that hair back up. And then just keep scissoring to get that nice round head coming down into that ear. And combing everything over on the other side, and we can see what we need to take off. Then just comb everything back up, and now I'm going to take a little bit more off the top of her skull. As I'm scissoring my mushroom style head, I like to leave more hair on her ear so her ears appear nice and full, and then scissoring a little bit more hair off the top of her skull, so coming nice and round into that ear. And I'm just scissoring small amounts as I go, so I achieve the shape that I prefer. As I scissor towards the back of her ear, I like it to transition nicely into her skull, so nice and round as we're coming into the back of her head. I like to come up towards her muzzle with this line. So the line that we created to scissor her donut muzzle, I just like to come up from her ear leather just a little bit up to where I've scissored her muzzle in. So this just helps create that roundness coming into that ear and gives it a little bit more softness. And then just blending our cheek hair into our ear hair. And then blending in our other cheek hair into our ear hair. And coming up slightly towards her muzzle. And then coming up towards the back of her head. So that nice roundness coming up towards the back of her skull into the top of her head. I like to create a nice roundness underneath the ear as well, so it separates the muzzle and the cheek and the ear hair. So I'm coming up in towards that muzzle and that cheek hair, so it separates the muzzle and the cheek and the ear hair. So I'm coming up in towards that muzzle and that cheek hair. I'm happy with the shape of her head, so what I'm going to do is give it one final comb out and one final scissor to get all this scissor work nice and even and smooth. And then blending her neck area into the back of her head. And I kind of like the shape to be a ball-like shape, so nice and round, leading to the top of her skull. So Miley's head is all done. So she's got her mushroom style head and she will be so happy because she was so overgrown. I'm going to pop all the links of the equipment that we've used in the description below. And if you guys have any questions, pop them in the comments and Miley and I will definitely get back to you. And until next time, happy grooming.